do you envision this play?
Well, I think any coach that wants to see a future in the game hopes that there's going to be the opportunity, because that's obviously the biggest thing that every coach, every player, and every member of an organisation needs. They need an opportunity to show what they're about. And in my current situation, you know, the opportunity to manage this group and this team from the early days has been very fruitful. It's been a terrific relationship. I'm delighted this milestone has been achieved here with the players and staff and fans that we have. I think we're definitely building something very special. But of course, the hope is that I make 500. And if it's here, even better.
Thank you, Coach. On today's game, what does this win mean? And then moving on to the round of 16?
Well, I mean, of course, the win's always vital in any cup competition. Otherwise, you're sitting on the sidelines for another year. So to get the result was the first and most important thing to try and get done. A bigger challenge than maybe I expected from the outset. I thought they put out a very strong side. Maybe some circumstances last weekend allowed them or offered them the opportunity to do that. But nevertheless, I think it gave some of our guys a chance to really step up to the plate here. And you know, we've got a good idea of what some of those players are more than capable of because of their first team appearances. But the likes of Elliot and Lawrence and Josh Bauer and Brian Anunga, who's not seen the field as much as maybe he should have done this year. Luke Hackinson when he came on. There were guys in there and maybe classed as younger individuals that I thought played ever so well tonight. They really showed a professional edge to their game. And whilst I thought the first half was quite a stodgy affair, if you like, it was lacking in any real creativity from both sides. It certainly came to life in the second period.
We are going to open the floor for questions. We'll go with Malaya.
Hi, Gary. 5 games unbeaten now. That NYCFC game seems like a while ago. What's changed so far, and how have you been able to get the best out of the players?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can look in that. I would have to say, I think all 5 of them were at home as well. So that's obviously a big boost. We're starting to find a bit of form and continuity here and confidence in our own stadium, which certainly comes with great delight because, as we know, that was something that was high up the priority order at the end of last year. I think the guys are settling into a rhythm. I think they're seeing benefits out of certain relationships on the field. We have a very different group out tonight, but I would hope everyone sees some good continuity in what those players are able to achieve, not just individually, but collectively. I thought their overall mentality to make life difficult for Dallas was there to be seen. The eagerness to keep a clean sheet, which is vitally important, was there to be seen. And certainly as the game progressed, we saw all of the willingness and excitement, especially with a couple of additions. It seems Jacob comes onto the field and, there's a spell thrown over the back line of the opposing team because of his pace. And he makes a hell of a difference. He opens the game up. And, of course, likewise, Fafa, who was able to offer that vital moment to give us a bit of daylight. But I think in general, the guys are rounding into some good form and some nice confidence.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Gary, I mean, you talked about some of the guys who stood out, but I think you made 10 changes to the team from Saturday and ended Dallas with what looked like essentially a full-strength lineup. Guys like Lawrence, Alex, Luke, what did you make of their performance, and how does that improve competition in the squad?
It is it's a huge boost individually for those players to step up and play well and put themselves back into the shop window. And, essentially that's what these games are about for those players. They wouldn't be here if we didn't all think they were capable. Finding that opportunity with the team doing as well as they are is not always easy. So when your opportunity comes along, you've got to take it. And I think they benefited from the last cup game. It wasn't the best and most picturesque, if you like, of performances. But I think the fact that a lot of them were able to play good minutes and find their feet again served them well today. And I thought we saw a more composed and certainly more comfortable group of players that were able to compete against a very good side. But I thought Alex's goal was terrific. I mean, we've seen obviously an awful lot of Alex in the last few weeks in that midfield. So it's no surprise to me to see Alex, look as willing and energetic and competitive as he did. But what we don't always see is that quality. The ability to come inside and to absolutely rifle it in the far corner. It'll be a great boost for him, of course, as well as the team. But if I'm leaning towards talking about those squad players more so than what I would class as senior players, Lucas had a terrific debut at the weekend. And I think his seniority in the group, Sean Davis we know about, Jack coming into the game. These are guys that we're seeing a lot of. Taylor's made the field an awful lot. But from the start, it looked like there was appetite in his game, that there was an edge to it. And I think for most of the guys tonight, the real big difference was that they really got after the game. It wasn't always creative. And as I said, the first half didn't look that way. But they looked like a team that wanted to win the game. And in the end, they were able to.
Gary, forgive my long question, but if looking at the game easily, somebody would say, well, all you have to do is change players and win the game, and you would have won the game easily by doing that. But the fact of the matter is the game was different, especially in the first half. What did you see? Was it something about what you wanted to accomplish or do in the second half, or what the rivals were doing that actually made you come up with the change?
I think the first thing was that I wasn't actually sure how they were going to set up because of the difficulties they've had at centre-back. It looked very much like they were going to go with a back three, but with their midfield players, they really overloaded that midfield, and they made life very, very difficult to work through. As soon as we won the ball, there was some nice possession, but we were unable to get any real traction going forward. The wing-backs were pressing reasonably high, and I thought they covered, most of the angles and the cracks very, very well. I think the other side of it was there was a lack of sparkle in that front line in the first half. There was no lack of endeavour, but there was just a lack of real creativity. And, Randall's first 45 minutes in 10, 12 weeks. So it's great to see him out there, and to suspect that, he was going to be able to unlock a door or be the difference today, I think would have been, wrong of me to be thinking that. His challenge tonight was to get through 45 minutes and, put himself in a much better position for the weekend. So there were different things that were going on. The second half, we were able just to discuss a couple of things at half time. There was a slight shift to what I wanted out of that front line group. With Luke coming on, we ended up, instead of almost being a front two and a 10, we ended up in a front three. And what really I asked of Fafa and Luke was to try and ask some more questions of these wing-backs and draw them a bit deeper, and to get our full-backs into the game a bit more so we could build a bit of pressure. I'm not sure it worked brilliantly, but it certainly enabled Fafa to get into some, maybe brighter positions, more comfortable positions. And the goal came from there. He gets himself in a good spot down the left-hand side, He comes in on his favoured right foot, and he does what he's done an awful lot in his career. He finishes extremely well into the far corner, and that's a bit of a trademark of Fafa. So it wasn't a consistent picture in the game, but it was enough to break the deadlock and to give us the lift we needed. And of course, the second goal, with Alex coming into it, I felt as though his inclusion in this game would be, far more helpful at this point, or the point that he came on, than maybe anyone else. We needed that industry in the midfield to allow the front three to be a little bit more, free and expressive, and they were allowed to do that.
Hey Gary, can you talk a little bit about your performance tonight? It seemed it was a little bit frustrated at times in a couple of few situations where it looked like there could have been something created there, but just wasn't quite there. So,
Yeah, I thought his efforts and his endeavours, his physicality through the middle, which is probably what we know Ethan most for, was there to see. Competed for 90 minutes, was a thorn for pretty much most of the game in the side of those defenders, especially when they had the ball. His energy and his pressure, very, very good. The key moments, though, require a bit of composure and clean, concise techniques. And I think his lack of football probably, just showed in those moments. There were 2 or 3 little moments, not many, but, those little moments can make all the difference. What I do think is, though, that's now, I think, 90 minutes for Ethan, certainly close to it in the space of 2 or 3 weeks. He would have benefited from that probably as much as anyone in that group. So a really good outing, and again, a very encouraging performance and a confidence boost.
what does it tell you that you were able to understand the chance to do the second half with
Well, it's always pleasing to do that and to get that done, to win a game, without Hanny's goals or Hanny on the field. Having that insurance policy on the line is always very nice as well. And that situation was always there for me. And he realises that, there's a lot of work coming up this month. So I certainly wanted to be cautious with, somebody as influential as Hanny. But I think what it does do for some of these guys, it gives them the opportunity to step into that void. And sometimes when you take somebody out like Hanny, who's such a focal point, he's so instrumental in what we achieve and how we play, somebody's got to step into that lane and say, look, we don't have that player, but guess what? I can do a little bit more, and I will do a little bit more. And I think what you saw tonight was a group of players, especially as the game wore on, that grew into it without one person stepping up another 30, 40, 50%. I think you saw 8, 9, 10 guys in the outfield step up 3, 4, 5%. And that is just as important as one individual changing the course of events. I thought we saw a collective group of players change the course of events tonight, and that was terrific.
Congratulations, Gary. Fafa at times in the first half would go after these little nitty-gritty balls that would either potentially go out for a goal kick or a corner. Just some of those small things don't get recognized, and being on such a short week, what does that mean for you to just kind of know that you have guys who rely on the team that, for example, like Fafa, who played a lot of the weekend and now in this game?
Well, yeah, I mean, if we're focusing in on Fafa alone, he was kept out of the firing line at the weekend because he'd had a nasty knock. I think it was the Atlanta game. So I wanted to be a little bit more careful with him. He's been very, very productive for the group. And to your point, he brings a tremendous amount of energy. He brings that fear factor with his pace. It's not just one movement beyond, it's constant movements beyond. He's a thorn in the defender's side. You're constantly looking around, you know, he's there again, he's running beyond again. He's so active. And I think what guys like Fafa do is inspire others around them. They certainly bring the rest of the group higher up the field. That pressure in and around the final third against this Dallas group mean that our back line can be that much higher. You know, we can be in positions to probably win the ball back in a little bit more of an aggressive spot. And I thought for good portions of the game, we were able to do that. It wasn't possible for 90 minutes, but I think you see the value of someone like Fafa and his addition to the group this year. He's already chipped in with some important goals. And overall, we've seen a group of players tonight that have been able to go out there, win a big cup game against a good side. And it's enabled me, in some way, shape or form, to, you know, rest the likes of Hani, for him to be fresher at the weekend and for the judgments to be made on what the group's going to look like going towards DC at the weekend.
We're going to have one more question as we transition into this MLS game this weekend. How did you know transition this game into preparing them for the game on Saturday?
Yeah, it's been a very similar week to, I think it was San Antonio midweek, and then I want to say Atlanta at the weekend. Tomorrow, for the most part, because the group's been split and a lot of the guys have worked so hard this evening, you know, the day will be broken up slightly tomorrow for some of the lads that weren't involved at all. And they'll get a more competitive session done, albeit on a smaller scale. The guys that have played will get some recovery time and allow their bodies to get back into, you know, what we would class as some sort of match day shape. I'll have a little bit more time to assess any difficulties that have come out of tonight's game, which I hope are not too many. And then Friday morning on a short week will be when we plan and prepare for DC and what we look like, who's going to be playing, and what the plan of action will be against a DC side who have been in very good form. So it'll be a really challenging game. And I'll probably need a little bit longer after tonight's events to make those choices.
I think it's very important for the group, for the team, the club, to move forward in advance. Obviously, these games are never easy, no matter who you're playing against. It's one and done, so every time you can advance is huge for the group and for the confidence, and it also helps us with the league confidence-wise and for every player all around. So we just want to keep doing this, and now we focus our attention to Saturday's game.
We're going to open the floor for questions now. Claudio, go ahead.
It looked pretty rough in the first half. Was that just something we kind of saw, or that's the way it was going in the first half?
I think it was a combination of things. I think also if we get that call on the ball I win, I'm onto a breakaway and we're up 1-0. So there's a lot of things that could be said about the first half between calls and just the game. But these are always, like I said, cup games are rough. They're different than league, and both teams knew that. So it was always going to be difficult.
I threw the numbers together. I think you, if I'm right, I think you scored 4 goals in 6 games since you left Dallas against them. Is there anything special to you against your former team, or is it just kind of?
No, I think it's for me every game's the same. I think since I left Dallas, I scored maybe 20-something goals now. So for me, it's just every game's the same. Just try to score, try to perform, and be there for my team. Whether it's doing dirty work or scoring goals. Obviously, I want to score goals, but I just want to be a player and do what I got to do.
Go ahead, Jacob. Yeah, Fafa, obviously Hani generates, so much offense for you guys, really, but, with him not in the lineup tonight, how do you look at it? Do you view it as, we're going to, replace what he brings by, playing to your own strengths, playing your own game, or is there more need to try to replace what he can bring in some form?
I think the important thing is always play to your strengths. Obviously, he's a special player, and the important thing as an attacker is to boost that and to boost his qualities and help him boost mine and play for each other. At the end of the day, I think it's shown also in league play in the last games, and when he's not on the pitch, the job still needs to be done. We can't sit and say, okay, somebody's got to step up. We always have to step up. We always have to do our job, and that's what being a professional is about, and that's always how we're going to approach the games.
Go ahead, Blair.
Fafa, with the last 2-3 weeks, we've seen a tactical and maybe a little bit of formation change. How do you perceive that as a player, and how do you deal with the changes and kind of roll with it and try to still compete?
Smell. I think it's important for us attacking players to be able to be closer to the goal a lot of the times. The tactics have helped us be in better spots when we do win the ball, and I think it's been positive so far. As we can see, we're getting results with it. Obviously, it's going to be growing pains. It's kind of new, but as we go along through the season and we get more accustomed and build the chemistry with the new styles of play, it's going to continue to be better and better. And I think we've all understood it, and we're here to play for each other. I think we have a very good group that's willing to adapt and learn and play for each other and play to each other's strengths. And I think even with change, it can be for the better, and we're showing that.
And more for Fafa. Go ahead, last one here.
So Fafa, I asked Coach Smith in his presser about your nitty-gritty plays of going after the ball and then possibly going out for a goal kick or a corner. Where does that kind of kindle from your start of the game? Like, where does that all kindle from? And also on top of that, going into the next coming weeks, how are you able to keep your body in the same shape? Not try to be overzealous. That's what it was.
I grew up on just toughness. That's what we didn't come up with any privilege. I wasn't given this career with any privilege. So I approach every game with grit, and I'm not gonna stop that. I think for the rest, just rice and beans will take care of itself, and resting at home. There's no special magic ingredient or trick to it. So you just have to take care of your body. Don't party. And be at home and get ready for the next games. It's not easy, but you get through it, and after years of doing it, you know little ways of how to get through the games, especially these weeks.